Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Florida Department of Transportation public kickoff meeting for the Project Development and Environment Study, or PD&E study, for SR 953 Northwest 42nd Avenue, SR 948 Northwest 36th Street, and SR 25 Okeechobee Road, also known as the Iron Triangle Interchange. The financial project ID is 438521-1-22-01, and efficient transportation decision-making number is 14472. Today is Wednesday, February 21st, 2024, and the time is now 6:15 p.m. My name is Kira Leon. I'm the FDOT project manager for this project. Our presentation will now begin. Shown is our FDOT compass. The compass focuses on 6 areas that navigate Florida's transportation system and offer a sustainable future. These areas are communities, safety, resiliency, workforce development, technology, and supply chain. Communities are at the center of our compass, and that's the main reason we're here tonight. Understanding each community's unique needs and priorities allows us to work together to build a transportation system that improves connectivity, enhances the quality of life of our residents and visitors, and achieves a shared community vision. FDOT is committed to ensuring that the state's infrastructure serves residents, businesses, and visitors to meet their needs now and in the future. I think we can all agree that this is a project that will touch on every aspect of the compass, as you will be able to see during the rest of our presentation. This evening, to assist with the presentation with me are Julieta Manso, our consultant project manager, and Diana Sanjurjo, our community outreach specialist. Before we continue, we would like to acknowledge Mayor Mitchell, Councilwoman Jackie Bravo, and Secretary Stacy Miller. If there are any other elected officials joining us in person this evening, I invite you to introduce yourselves at this time. If any elected officials have joined us online, we ask that you utilize the raised hand feature or state your name and title in the question box so that we may acknowledge you. You will have an opportunity after the presentation to address the attendees. Now, Diana will go over the rules of engagement.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. This public kickoff meeting is being recorded. Virtual attendees will remain muted throughout the meeting except for the open discussion, question and answer session. To provide a comment or to ask a question during the question and answer session, the in-person attendees, please fill out a speaker card and hand it to one of our team members. Place your name and information, and your name will be called out in the order the card was received, and we will hand you the microphone. If you have any questions and you haven't filled out a speaker card at the end of the presentation, you can also raise your hand and your question and comment will be addressed by one of our project team. For virtual attendees, please use the raise hand button on your GoToWebinar panel. Once your microphone is unmuted, please provide your full name followed by your comment or question. Your microphone will remain unmuted until your comment has been fully addressed. Virtual attendees are also welcome to submit comments and questions using the GoToWebinar question panel, and a member of the team will respond during the question and answer session. If you experience any technical difficulties, you can call the helpline at 786-614-0050 so that a member of our technical team can support you. Public notices for this meeting, including information on how to access the meeting platform, was provided in notifications to property owners and tenants in the project area. In addition, emails were sent to interested individuals, elected and appointed officials, government agencies, and persons on the project contact list. This public meeting was advertised in the Florida Administrative Register, newspapers, and via social media. The environmental review, consultation, and other actions required by applicable federal environmental laws for these projects are being or have been carried out by the FDOT pursuant to 23 U.S.C.327 and a memorandum of understanding dated May 26, 2022 and executed by the Federal Highway Administration and FDOT. The Florida Department of Transportation is required to comply with various non-discrimination laws and regulations, including Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Public participation is solicited without regard to race, color, national origin, age, sex, religion, disability, or family status. Persons wishing to express their concerns about Title VI may do so by contacting the FDOT District 6 Interim Title VI Coordinator, Tish Berger, at 305-470-5277 or via email at tish.berger@dot.state.fl.us or the FDOT Statewide Title VI Coordinator, Stefan Kolakowski, at 850-410-4742 or via email at stefan.kolakowski@dot.state.fl.us. And with this, I would hand it over to Julieta for the presentation part.
Thank you, Diana. This project is located on a very urbanized area in Miami-Dade County. It is a critical location where major roadway interconnects. Our project area includes Northwest 42nd Avenue, which is also called Lejeune Road, Northwest 36th Street, State Road 25, US 27, also called Okeechobee Road, and they all interconnect with the State Road 112, which is the airport expressway that connects back into the airport. We are also going to be evaluating additional roadway segments within the interchange area, such as the Royal Poinciana Boulevard, Northwest North River Drive, and Northwest South River Drive, which they all connect into the system. We are also coordinating with 5 different jurisdictions for this project: Miami-Dade County, City of Hialeah, City of Miami Gardens, City of Miami, and Village of Virginia Gardens. We have several points of interest and major traffic generators within our project study area. The Miami International Airport is located on the southwest quadrant of our project, Miami Intermodal Center, Miami Metro Rail, the Tri-Rail Station, the Hialeah Rail Yard, and the future Miami Freedom Park and Soccer Village. A project development and environment, or PD&E study, it's a blending of engineering analysis, environmental analysis, and public involvement activities. This process is used by engineers and planners to determine the location and conceptual design of the preferred roadway improvements. This PD&E study is being conducted to evaluate the project feasibility and potential impacts to the natural, physical, social, and natural environment. It's also done to comply with federal and state environmental laws, and it is required to secure federal regulatory approval. A planning study was conducted in 2020 that developed preliminary alternatives. The PD&E study is the second phase of the transportation improvement process. After the PD&E is complete, the project will move into final design and engineering phase, followed by construction. The PD&E study is a process to analyze transportation projects, and it consists of the 3 main elements: engineering, where we identify and evaluate potential design solutions; the environmental, where we will look and evaluate potential impacts to the social, natural, cultural, and physical environment; and the public involvement, where we seek public input, which is the main reason we're here tonight. A purpose and needs statement was established during the planning phase. The main purpose for this project is to address operational deficiencies and improve capacity, relieve congestion, and accommodate transportation demand within the Iron Triangle interchange area. To improve safety, FDOT is committed to reaching 0 fatalities and serious injuries in all of their major roadways. To enhance modal interrelationship, we have several modes that interconnect within the project area. So improving connectivity is part of the main purpose of this project. And the project needs all align with the project purpose: capacity, transportation demand, safety, and modal interrelationship. This project originated in 2015, where stakeholders around Miami-Dade County identify areas of concern and identified the Iron Triangle as a critical area for further evaluation. A planning study was completed in November of 2020. Several improvements were evaluated during the planning study. 2 long-term and 5 long-term improvements were recommended for further evaluation and coordination. The long-term improvements are now becoming part of this PD&E study, which we will be evaluating into more detail and developing additional alternatives. The short-term improvements will be programmed to be included as part of ongoing projects within the project area. The long-term improvement recommendations from the planning study consist of 2 main concepts. Concept L1, which involves the extension of westbound State Road 112 to westbound Northwest 36th Street over Lejeune Road, which is the orange line that you see on the map. And the Concept 3, which involves Okeechobee Road overpass at Lejeune Road, which is the purple or magenta line that you see on the map. If you see into more detail, this showing on the screen, it's the planning study concept L1, which is the extension of the westbound State Road 112 ramp to Northwest 36th Street over Lejeune Road. On this graphic, the north is represented going up. This concept provides a new flyover ramp that connects westbound 112 over the Miami Canal, Northwest South River Drive, and Lejeune Road, and connects back to Northwest 36th Street west of the Lejeune Road intersection. This concept eliminates the existing at-grade exit ramp located just east of Miami Canal. The area on the dark gray represents the bridge portion of the ramp. Additional improvements or modifications to the concept will be evaluated during the PD&E study. The second concept is the planning study concept L3, which is the Okeechobee Road overpass at Lejeune Road. On this graphic, the north is now represented diagonal towards the left. So this concept maintains the existing flyover ramp that connects Northwest Lejeune Road to westbound Okeechobee Road. With this concept, through movements along Okeechobee Road are elevated over Lejeune Road. The light gray area represents area that remains at grade, and the darker gray areas represent the bridge segments along Okeechobee Road. Similar with the previous alternative, additional concepts will be developed around this area. The traffic analysis for this PD&E study will look at the 25-year horizon. Our analysis will evaluate traffic conditions by the year 2050. If no improvements are made by the year 2050, all of the intersections within the interchange area will operate at failing conditions or levels of service F. Queue lengths will extend into the 112 mainline. Also, the Miami Freedom Park will generate additional congestion, not only on special events, but during a typical weekday. Future congestion will increase without any mitigation or improvements. Based on the proposed improvements from the feasibility study, we are able to improve some of the operations of the interchange area, but there will be still additional improvements that will have to take place during the PD&E study to address the needs for the project. As part of the PD&E study, as I mentioned before, we will refine the planning concepts and develop additional improvements to help improve the capacity, relieve the congestion, and improve the overall safety of the entire area. The alternatives to be considered as part of our alternatives evaluation process will include the no-build alternative, which assumes that no improvements are made or does not address any needs along the corridor. Transportation management and operation improvements, which will include improvements within the existing infrastructure that will improve operations. And we will be developing build alternatives, which will include different options to address the project purpose and need, to address the operational deficiencies of this project. Throughout the study, the community and local agencies will be invited to review and comment on the project concepts to help create the best solution for the community. This project will include a comprehensive investigation and an evaluation of the environmental effects of the project for the social, cultural, natural, and physical environmental features, and identify ways to reduce or minimize any impacts. Public input is a critical component of this PD&E study. We'll have several opportunities for public participation. Please stay involved in the project and attend the public meetings. There will be 2 additional public meetings scheduled for this project. We are at the beginning stages of the PD&E. An alternatives public workshop and a public hearing will be scheduled later in the project phases. You may ask questions and provide comments at any time during the study by contacting Kira Leon, the FDOT project manager, or by visiting the project website. All the latest information, including all the information at today's meeting, will be uploaded into the website for your availability. This PD&E study has been coordinating with other projects within the study area. A multimodal corridor study is being conducted along Northeast 36th Street from Palmetto Expressway to US 1. The purpose of that study is to identify short-term and long-term transportation needs within that study area and to provide recommendations for further evaluation into a separate PD&E study. The goal of that project is to assess and develop improvements to address existing and future mobility, operational, social, economic, and safety needs along the entire portion of 36th Street. Next slide, please. The anticipated schedule for this PD&E study is about 2 years. There are several activities that will happen in between. Public meetings are a key milestone of our project. We will have several opportunities for public participation through the life of this project. We expect this project to be completed in 2025, the PD&E study phase. Funding for the PD&E was funded for fiscal year 2023. Preliminary engineering and design is funded for fiscal year 2028. Construction is currently not funded. We thank you all for participating in tonight's public meeting. We hope you find this informative. After the question and answer session, our team will be available to review any information and to address any additional questions that you may have about the project. We are now ready to begin the question and answer session.
Thank you, Julieta, for that presentation. Again, if there are any elected officials that have joined us during the presentation, we would like to acknowledge you now before we move on to the question and answer portion of the meeting. Please raise your hand using the control panel or raise your hand if you're physically in the audience. So we will first address attendees that are here in person and have filled out and turned in a speaker card. Then we will move on to those who are virtually and have their hand raised or have submitted a comment on the question box. Just a reminder to provide a comment or ask a question. If you're in person, you can fill out a speaker card and hand it to one of our team members and your name will be called out in the order that we have received those. If not, you can also raise your hand and we would hand you the microphone so you can ask your question. For virtual attendees, again, use the raise hand button on your GoToWebinar panel. Once your microphone is unmuted, please provide your full name followed by your comment and question, and your microphone will remain unmuted until your comment has been fully addressed. You can also submit your comments and questions using the GoToWebinar question panel, and a member of the team will respond during the question and answer session. If you have any technical difficulties, you can call the helpline 786-614-0050, and a member of our technical team will be able to support you. So now to begin with the question and answer session, we have Armando Amel. Would you like to ask a question? Okay. Okay.
Thank you. We would like to use the microphone so that attendees on the virtual setting can listen to the question as well. Thank you.
Thank you for taking my question. Armando Med, as you know. Try to be brief. The overall purpose of the study is to lead to better transportation, better circulation, minimize impacts to the visiting communities, natural resources, X, Y, and Z. I'm a bit familiar with this process. I work for Miami-Dade County at the seaport, so we deal with this every day. So part of my question is the introduction of the flyovers, as I kind of captured briefly on the presentation. It's that pretty much set in stone, or it's still part of the study to find a better way?
The flyovers were identified during the planning study. So that planning study was completed in November of 2020, and they were recommended for further evaluation through the PD&E phase. So during the PD&E study, we will evaluate those alternatives and develop additional alternatives that will meet the capacity and eliminate impacts to the community, the neighborhood, the environmental, the culture, and all the other impacts. So there will be additional alternatives. So those are not set in stone. Those are the ones that were identified during the planning phase. And we're gonna start with those, but we will be developing additional alternatives as part of the study for both, for the ramp that goes on Northwest 36th Street, as well as the overpass for Okeechobee Road. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
We have Carmen Spanguevas. Oh, Spangenberg. Apologies.
Okay, I don't work for the government, so I have a very little knowledge about, but I know the impact that things can have when we only take in consideration the flow of the cars. My concern is we have a very small, special, unique community. We are not going to grow too much. You're talking about our overpass. It can overshadow the whole community to start off. You also have two places in the 30th Street. You have the 30th Street extremely congested, full of trucks, etc. Don't go over there. And you have the other side, close to the airport, which is very light. My concern is, could we make that side that is by the airport to be a very transport-wise plan? So would take the big trucks and all the things that you want to put it between the 112 to the Palmetto. It could be so fast, so wonderful. It could be made without so much impact for us. Because I'm thinking, you have this overpass in the 36, we already strangled. And then you put that poor hotels. The hotels are going to lose nobody want to be in a hotel that has a bypass by, and they're already there. We have also a community, so we want to walk. That is place for coffees would be wonderful if you do all your project with two phases. The one by Miami Springs to be by the residents, okay, light for us, and the other one for your heavy truck and heavy traffic in the other side. That's what I think. But if you put all this bypass in top of these hotels, you would completely destroy our wonderful community. Please do not do that.
No, we completely understand. We've met already with the mayor, and we have talked about some of those issues that these ramps will bring into the community. So we're going to be working into developing additional options that can address those concerns. Especially, we understand that the city is divided. There's a portion with the hotels that are on the southeast, while the city is on the northwest. So we will make sure that we can develop options. And that's the main reason we're here. We want to listen to the concerns so that we can take those into consideration when we develop the concepts. And then we'll have an opportunity in the summer where we'll have our alternatives, we'll present new concepts, and that we can hear some feedback from the community on those.
We have Robert. Oh.
Thank you. Robert Gawant from M&M Package Store in Hialeah. My presentation could be longer than yours, but I'm going to try to keep this very short. I don't want to be hypercritical, but I do want to be honest. We were told that when Okeechobee Road was widened, it widened into the canal, the traffic would be reduced. When the entrance ramps to 836 were completed, when the overpass exit from the airport onto Lejeune Road was completed, when the overpass from 112 was completed. And the traffic never improved, it's only gotten worse. This plan leapfrogs over Lejeune Road in both directions, but it doesn't address Lejeune Road. And why is Lejeune Road so important? And this, I wish you to emphasize this to the rest of the people in the state. There's only one north-south avenue through Mid-Dade County from 27th Avenue to 72nd Avenue. Lejeune Road is it. And if you're going to put a soccer stadium, this was not the place to put it. Okay, so you're coming across Okeechobee Road, you're leapfrogging it with this overpass, and you're just going to hit traffic again. And so I don't see the purpose in that. And the same thing crossing in the other direction, 112, you're going to hit traffic on 36th Street. To me, there's two solutions. There's only one solution, and that's mass transit. And I addressed this with the Hialeah City Council, and there's no easy route from the Intermodal Center to Miami Springs. There should be a dedicated bus lane. And I even contacted Freebie about this, and they were so interested, but it never happened. Okay, but if there was like a dedicated bus from the Intermodal Center to the River Cities, to the casino, to the Hialeah Hospital, like the Hialeah City Council, the mayor had mentioned that one day they're going to be looking at like a monorail, a metro rail system. Well, the first step is a dedicated stop, a line, and I think it would behoove us to like have a dedicated bus back and forth to at least to Miami Springs. It would bring the airport to Miami Springs, all these businesses, but you need a dedicated line. So I'm on Lejeune Road, and the traffic backs up on Lejeune Road, backs up to 46th Street. Now we have an Amazon distribution center with large trucks, all these garbage trucks, industrial trucks. Lejeune Road never really clears 46th Street. So the Amazon truck has to go this way and then blocks 46th Street, and it's the cross traffic. So to me, you know, Lejeune Road is the most important part. So there is another solution, which is a little more difficult, and that is what I call traffic flow centers, where I would like to see two motormen, policemen, one on the Hialeah side, one on the Miami Springs side, and they would run the traffic lights. I think they should like extend the traffic lights north and south during rush hour. Okay, so the cost of having two motormen there, wow, you know, well, how many people are stuck for an extra half an hour burning gasoline? And so having a motorman there is dangerous, it's expensive, and honestly, motormen aren't the hardest working, you know, not happy to have to do this job. But if you're stuck at this light, and if you see the same motorman there every morning, that's his beat. And so you're like, well, at least the city, the government's trying to do something. So I'm sure you have your own terminology for this, but you can't widen the bridges any. You know, you can't make the cars disappear, but you can't change the hardware. But to me, this is the software. And but the one thing I would like you to change, there's one intersection which is really terrible, is South Royal Poinciana Boulevard and 36th Street. because the traffic coming west on 36th Street, they somewhat blocked the intersection. Then a truck coming west on 36th Street trying to turn to Royal Poinciana, it can't clear, and it's just a cluster. And so, I mean, and there's an area, there's a triangular piece of property there, which, okay, when you come north on Lejeune Road.
I know which one, the one that's,
Okay,
I know
right.
which.
We come north on Lejeune Road, you can take a right turn to 36th Street, or you can go half a block up and take a right turn on Royal Poinciana, which is, it makes no sense. And that intersection, Northwest South River Drive and 36th Street, that has to be redesigned. Okay. But as far as the ramps, you know, the traffic's never going to disappear, and you're just leapfrogging over it, and that's what I have to say.
No, we understand, and we know that with all these projects, we look at a projection, but our county keeps growing, and we have an increase in population, increase in demand. The soccer stadium is now going to be on the south side. That is going to impact a lot of the traffic that now circulates, not just during a game day, but it's going to have additional traffic and congestion that is going to be added to the system. So the intent for the ramps that were looked in the planning, it's for example, the ramp that goes over Lejeune Road, it eliminates that signal and it gives priority to Lejeune, so it will move more traffic along Lejeune Road. So that's the main intent of elevating Okeechobee. And then once you elevate also the ramp for 112, it clears a lot of that east-west movement on 36th Street, giving also priority on Lejeune. So even though the two concepts look more like focused into 36 and Okeechobee Road, it also helps alleviate a lot of the system. But we understand there's also the new soccer, the Amazon is north of Lejeune and Hialeah. So we are understanding all these new developments that are in the area, and we're incorporating that into the traffic analysis so that it can properly give us data that can help us determine what are the new needs for the corridor as we develop new concepts. So that's why these concepts are not set in stone. It's just part of the planning phase that helped us program the project so that it moves forward and it identified as a feasible project to be looked into more detail. Thank you for your comment.
We have Raul Cruz Alvarez.
Good afternoon, everyone. So if I understand you right, you said that some of these the planning phases started in 2020, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So the impact to certain businesses since 2020 to 2024 has dramatically changed. I mean, you mentioned Amazon. We could mention all kinds of other businesses that are directing traffic, right? If you look at all the new businesses that are starting out or buildings that are being torn down in Doral and these massive warehouses, and don't get me wrong, I'm a tenant at one of them in West Hialeah, so I understand what those things are. But those are creating jobs. Those are creating other things. Those are creating other companies and other ways of people being able to feed their families. But my question bears down on, something that I've been discussing with the city probably for close to 30 years. The amount of truck movement in the airport and in the surrounding area where you have a lot of residents. I've been a resident of Miami Springs now for 26, 25 years, something like that, on my second stint. So I absolutely want to keep Mayberry as Mayberry, right? We consider our triangle Mayberry. We would love our little area. We want to keep all these trucks away from there. So one of the things that I've been discussing with the county and pushing them and asking them so much is to get, a lot of this truck traffic away from 36th Street. The only way that's going to happen is if the cargo and some of the maintenance gets moved outside of the city into other airports and stuff like that. And I know this is not the forum for that, but I would like to see if part of the study, or maybe if I could communicate with somebody, the amount of actual truck, anything over about 12,000 pounds or 14,000 pounds that moves through this corridor. And if that's something that you guys are really looking at, because yes, a car takes X number of feet, right? And it takes X number of time to turn in a corner. I was telling my neighbor here that, it's funny because sometimes I travel constantly. So sometimes I'll land and it takes me less time to taxi, get into the gate, get into a taxi or an Uber, and get to Lejeune Road right before George T. Baker. And it takes me longer to get from George T. Baker to 36th Street to make my left to come to Miami Springs than it takes me to do all that, which is a crazy amount of time. So yes, I want to see that time coming down. I would like to see the flow of traffic coming down. But I think that the biggest issue, and again, my biggest part of the question is I need to understand that you guys have that information and if that's something that could be shared, because I will be going to a county meeting again, and I'm going to be whether they get tired of me, one of these days they're going to get tired of me and kick me out and never allow me to go back there again. But we got to get the cargo area away from this airport, because this has got to be a terminal for passengers. And if they ever get their head out of there, maybe they'll turn 36th Street to a small terminal so that we can get some of these other flights in and out and generate other businesses. But if I could get that information, information from you, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you.
FDOT is conducting another study along 36th Street from the Palmetto, from State Road 826 all the way to US 1. And it's evaluating that truck movement because we know that there's a lot of truck and cargo that comes in and out of the airport to distribute throughout the county. So there is already an ongoing project that is looking at that same issue that you're talking about, because the issue is not just at that Iron Triangle area, it extends east and west along 36th Street. So there is a project that's already been looking at those issues, and we're coordinating with them, making sure that whatever improvements we make are equivalent and don't contradict what they're looking at their study. But there's an ongoing project. It's on the planning phase, so they will be developing some recommendations to move into a PD&E phase similar to this process, to look at options to help move some of that truck traffic that it's also creating congestion along the entire 36th Street corridor.
And it's not that I'm against cargo. I know that Miami's number one, number two, they're always going back and forth on international cargo coming in and out of here. And that creates a tremendous amount of business for the area. But we got to do it smartly, get it away from this airport, put it to an airport where we're not using. So
yeah, no, we understand. Thank you for your comment.
We have a question from James Fulton.
Good evening, James Fulton. My question is this. Is this study only to the flyover, or if suggestions that are made or proposals that are made, are they allowed to then be studied with the funds that have been set aside for this project?
To answer that first part, the project area includes 36th Street, Lejeune, and Okeechobee. So we will be evaluating all of the intersections within that study area.
Okay.
So we're starting with those two concepts, but we will be, depending on the traffic analysis, we will be developing improvements that are needed within the area.
Okay, so in reference to the young lady who spoke earlier, rerouting the traffic on the larger traffic, or creating a faster corridor on the other side of the airport, that couldn't even be studied because it's not considered in this study.
Well, there's that other study that DOT is working on, that it's evaluating all that truck movement on 36th Street. That could be incorporated if it's a larger project. We're looking at the interchange area.
So basically, we're being forced to deal with the interchange area and the flyovers, and really it doesn't really matter what other suggestions we come up with, because it's not in the scope of this study. It won't be studied, correct?
No, we will take all the comments, and if it's in relation to the other project, we'll relay that to the other project so it gets considered during that evaluation.
Okay, another example is, for example, in Doral, where they've taken and purchased large parcels and put up high rises that have completely multiplied the amount of cars that are traveling now east to get to downtown Miami to go to work through 36th Street. Is there any part of that in a discussion to slow down the purchase of a single-story building that now is 30 stories?
Well, that's part of the city planning. So the cities develop their plan and their master plan. So that's part of their city plans.
How about if we put a toll up right by the, right,
I'm sure.
right by the Palmetto coming into 36th Street? Because that'll help offset our police that have to police 36th Street, but yet Miami-Dade gets the tax from the money.
Yeah.
I think we put a toll up.
Thank you for your comment. And if you have a comment on the other project, you can also note it in the comments card, because we will reroute that comment to the appropriate project. Or you can send it to the email and then we'll route it to the right project manager for that. Thank you.
Next, we have a question from Chris Hall. Chris Hall.
Diana, I think that gentleman left.
Okay.
Yes.
So if there's anybody else that would have, okay.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, thank you. My name is Marco Suarez. Excuse my voice, I have missed a vocal cord. Resident of Miami Springs for over 20 years, and I concur with a lot of the comments I've heard so far. One of the things that I reviewed the project plan from before you guys set up the meeting, I looked at it online. It just kind of feels like this project is being shoved down our throat and disturbing the peace and the beauty of this community. We're very fortunate that we live in a wonderful community where a lot of people know each other. Our kids play outside and we feel very safe because we're like in a Bermuda Triangle. It's like somebody mentioned Mayberry. I'm very surprised that FDOT did not widen the scope of their study to include the south side of the airport along 12th Street, where you actually have a train track where you guys can maybe convert that into an overhead metro rail and maybe expand 12th Street to redirect the flow of cargo traffic. Reason being is, like I think one of the gentlemen mentioned, Miami International Airport has Cargo City, which is located on the southwest side of the airport, where a majority of the morning traffic trucks are trying to get off on 25th Street. But because somebody messed that up and forgot to do like a nice little off ramp off of the Palmetto, you get that backup traffic off of 25th. So why didn't we include Northwest 25th Street in the study? Why didn't we include the south side of Miami International Airport along 12th Street that goes all the way from Sweetwater all the way to 22nd, curves around, and guess where it ends up? Right where the soccer stadium is going to be built. That would have been a better study to conduct instead of telling us about, let's put Metro Rail widen 36th Street to allow the traffic to flow better, which I don't know what gentleman at the beginning said it. Whatever you guys do, number one, once you guys do, if this goes through, which I pray to God it doesn't, that construction is going to kill all the traffic. Number two, like somebody already mentioned, is going to kill the businesses along 36th Street. We already have an issue with crime. And by the way, one of you ladies mentioned that the businesses are located on the southeast side. No, majority of the businesses are located along 36th Street.
No.
The rest of the triangle is residents. We already have a huge problem with crime along 36th Street at the hotels, with the residents, with the mayor, and our commissioners have been fighting constantly with the county to get rid of these mom and pop hotels that breathe nothing but criminal activity. And now you guys want to do a metro rail. You guys want to widen the traffic along 36th Street. There's no need for that. My suggestion, your study should be expanded to include 12th Street, Northwest 12th Street, 25th Street, where a lot of the cargo traffic flows through to go to Cargo City, where a majority of the cargo planes land to drop off, import and export. There's no reason why you guys should be focusing on 36th Street at all, because again, whatever you guys do is not going to change. Because again, you're going to bypass 42nd for the diagram you guys have, the illustrations, but it's still going to dump into 36th Street. And it's still going to cause traffic. Doesn't matter. You're going to still have that crossing, that traffic jam. Okay, and I don't care how wide you guys make 36th Street. If you guys even include Perimeter Road, you're still going to have traffic. And then I don't care how pretty you guys make it, bicycle lane, pedestrian lanes. That's a safety issue for me. I'm not going to go on a bike lane on a major, 6-lane road where right now it's even, we constantly have accidents on the corner of 62nd and 36, the corner of 57 and 36, and on 42nd and 36. There's always traffics there. You think I'm going to take my kids on a bicycle lane on 36th Street with what you guys are proposing? Absolutely not. Guys, I mean, again, and the last thing I'm going to say, the residents of Miami Springs should not have to suffer at the cost of you guys wanting to do your little project. It's going to amount to nothing because, this, as you said yourself, the county is going to continue to grow. More residents are moving into Miami-Dade County. So my ask would be either create an additional study to include 12th Street, 25th Street, 22nd, all along the Miami International Airport, where it goes from Sweetwater all the way into the city of Miami to include where they're going to build the stadium, or expand the scope of this current study, this one or the other one, to include the south side where there's no residents. There's hotels on 12th Street. There's businesses, there's El Dorado, there's a gas station and a couple of buildings. That would be my recommendation, that you guys take back to your project leads and whatnot, because I'm telling you right now, as this study goes along and we start seeing that this project's going to happen, you're going to have a lot of pissed off residents and a lot of pissed off voters in the city of Miami Springs. Thank you.
No, no, it's okay. No, and that's the main reason we're here. We're starting the project. This is the very early stages of the PD&E, and the intent is for this scenario so that we can hear the comments and make sure that we implement that as part of the study. We don't want to create a concept that nobody has seen, and then at the end, it's not beneficial for the community. So like Kira was mentioning at the beginning, the FDOT Compass revolves around the communities that we serve, and we have the supply chain and the safety, and the communities are the main reason why we're doing these studies, because at the end of the day, these projects are to better the movement and the traffic and everything, but the communities that are within the project are the ones that we want to listen to as well, and make sure that we address the needs for the entire area.
Who had their hand up? Just one moment. Let me get this to this lady. Okay. State your name, please.
Darlene Epstein. I've been a resident of Miami Springs for 69 years, born and raised here. Still live in the house that my parents bought in 1950. You mentioned that the construction was not paid for in this project. Who is going to be paying for the construction? Is it going to be passed on to the taxpayers if the bonds are not enough money?
No, the construction is not funded.
It's not funded.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not funded, but it's going to be, and part of the requirements for the PD&E, it's this project will be federally funded. So it will be programmed for construction. At this point, the funds are not programmed, but they will be programmed once the project moves into the next phase.
So nothing will be passed on to the taxpayers.
It's part of the federal.
I mean, my parents bought the house in 1950 for $10,000. Now it would sell for close to $5,000. It's just ridiculous. And people are moving out of the city because they can't afford it anymore, or they can't afford their medications.
There's a comment in the back.
Yes. Okay, just one moment, sir. This gentleman in the front. Sir, you had a comment?
Good evening. My name is Jose. I live right in the entrance of Hialeah, very close to Lejeune Road. So Hialeah has already approved big projects by the Home Depot Tri-Rail Station. The whole area is going to be, has already been approved for development. The cheap hotels on Okeechobee Road have already been approved. That'll be gone soon. The worst traffic is, I would say, south, north on Lejeune Road. I know you explained it, but I don't understand. If you explain it more? How will two ramps that are going over Lejeune Road gonna help the traffic on Lejeune Road? And that the new soccer stadium is gonna create more traffic on Lejeune Road, not on 36th Street or Okeechobee. So can you explain again how the two ramps that cross over Lejeune Road are gonna help the traffic on Lejeune Road?
Yeah, for the second concept, that's the one on Okeechobee over Lejeune. When you elevate the through movements, the people that are going on Okeechobee, when you elevate that over Lejeune, it gives priority to Lejeune on the bottom. So it would have more time at the signal. So we have more traffic going, stopping less time for the signal to turn into green. And then all the traffic on Okeechobee will just go without stopping over Lejeune. That's what that concept it's doing at that location. The ramp, the way it is, Vanessa, I don't know if you can please go back to slide number 14. No, that's 14. No, then it's, yes, that one, number 15, I'm sorry. Well, that's removing the through movements on Okeechobee, it's elevating it. So it's giving priority to the Lejeune Road traffic underneath the bridge.
Julie Kelly.
Okay.
I've
Thank you.
lived off and on about 40 years here. My question is, where does the ramp that's going to go, are you extending the ramp that feeds into Okeechobee from the airport? Because the congestion is just as we're heading north. If you want to turn left, that left-hand lane is super congested. So if you don't start it south of the overpass for 112, you're not solving anything. Nothing is being solved. And the same thing with, so that's my question, because I'm looking at the papers, I've heard what you're saying, but I don't understand, where are you starting that ramp? And the one on 112, the exit, it feeds into 36th Street. Are you going to create another ramp that just goes only 36th Street and over Lejeune and empties out? Is that what you're saying?
That's the one, yeah, that's the one that connects 112 to 36th Street. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so it's going to go over Lejeune.
Over Lejeune and then connects.
And the one for Okeechobee, where is it going to start?
It starts west of Lejeune and it's two-way. So it would go both directions. It would just go, it's like elevating Okeechobee Road.
Okay.
And it goes over Lejeune. That's an overpass. There's still lanes at grade that would serve as turning movements at Lejeune Road, but it will give priority to Lejeune Road traffic.
Okay, but that's where the congestion is. As we're turning left under the overpass, you can't even see that you can turn. I mean, I know where I'm going, but what I see is people that think that they're going straight and they're getting into that lane. And then as you're trying to turn, it turns into this huge congestion. And then at the stop sign, there's no cars. You know, everybody's going over the beeping and everything else because that lane to Okeechobee is not started sooner. And that is my question.
No, yeah, I think we're talking about two different locations. You were talking about underneath the 112, right? That's where you were talking about the left turn movements underneath on 36. Okay. The one on no, because the ramp for Okeechobee, it's along Okeechobee, but it's north of 36, no further turning on 36. Yes. Yes. Yeah, you have that flyover ramp, yes. Yeah, that intersection also will be improved and signalized better to connect back into that existing ramp.
Right here, this is 112. This comes down right now onto the surface street, and here's
Yeah, I didn't get up because of the camera, but I think I'm gonna get up. It's gonna be easier.
Okay, down here's what you're talking about.
Can you, Vanessa, can you move to the, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. We have a comment online to please use the microphone because I can hear the comment from the microphone.
Yes.
But let me, Vanessa, if you move to the other slide, which is number 14, I think that one shows it better. I got up. I know I'm off the camera now, but it makes it easier. The one that you are referring to is when you are, yes, right here. Yes. When you, and then you're talking about when you continue through to get on that ramp that goes to Okeechobee.
She's concerned about, she wants
Yeah.
to turn here faster.
Yeah.
In order to turn here faster, they're gonna bypass this traffic so that there's less traffic here going back and forth, so you can turn here faster.
Lengthening that ramp. You are not lengthening the ramp to
The existing
Okeechobee.
one,
They still
no,
have to
that
stop
one,
on 36th Street.
Yeah. So improvements at the entire intersection will be part of the study. So, yes.
Because you don't have space to do that. Look at that. It looks awful already. Now put two lines, put bypass, and move everybody of Miami Springs and give a better place, because we are not going to have a city anymore. We're going to have a conglomerate, or whatever it is called, of bypass like you have coming from, let's see, Fort Lauderdale and driving to Miami. There is a space going to Pinecrest, and you have a space. You have no space to create that there. I don't understand. I would like to talk to your engineer, because I think they're not looking. They did pick up an helicopter and go around, because that is an absurd. That is ugly. No, I hope you're not the engineer. I'm sorry if I. No.
I am one of them. I am one of them.
But pick up an helicopter and go around, and it will be the only ugly spot in Miami, because there is no other spot like that. Close it as Brickell. Brickell is closed, but Brickell has other views. There is not. Have you gone around in other countries and you look the airport, and there is some countries the airport area is beautiful, some countries look like that junk? Please don't do that with us. We do not deserve, and you don't deserve to have your name signed in that stupidity. I'm sorry.
Thank you for your comment. I won't take it personal.
Good evening, I'm Charlie Leonard. I have a couple questions. So the proposed ramps on Lejeune Road and the 112, are they going to go over the existing ramps that are there now?
It would go over the canal, over the North River Drive, and over Lejeune, and then it connects back to 36. The existing ramp is this one that goes eastbound and connects into 112.
Yeah, how are you gonna get over Okeechobee on Lejeune Road?
36th Street, that's what I need.
36th Street, yeah, I don't,
Where location on 36th Street?
just, yeah. No, I'm talking about Lejeune Road and the 112 ramp,
It would go over Lejeune.
and over the 112 ramp that goes
It
from
will
36.
connect, it,
The
no,
one
it-
that goes from
the
36.
existing
Yeah, that one,
112 is on the
James.
south side.
112's on this side. This one's gonna come over the center, come into the median on 36, and then go down that way.
Okay, the other thing is, number one, I don't trust DOT. Let's start with that. The other thing is, you're currently studying 36th Street from Lejeune to the Palmetto?
No, we are currently, our project, it's 36 from just, west of the intersection with Lejeune and connecting back into 112. The other project that's from Palmetto to US 1, it's a corridor study that DOT is conducting that's evaluating the truck traffic and
But is anybody looking at 36th Street from Lejeune to the Palmetto?
yes.
That's
Yeah,
part
that
of
other-
the
that's- yeah.
Palmetto to US 1
Yes,
study.
yes.
Okay.
So
the
we're working
gentleman-
collaborative.
The gentleman back there made a great point that any type of overpass should not go on 36th Street, should be on 12th Street, which is parallel to 836th Street. There are no residents in that area. You have commercial, industrial, Walmarts, all that, and it can go all the way to the turnpike, north, south. So any talk of a overhead bypass on 36th Street should stop, because even the DOT started tearing down an overpass along 836 and 395 to build this giant signature bridge, because after 30 or 40 years, they realized that you killed the community. We don't want you to even consider that in our area.
Yeah, no, definitely, yes. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just one moment. I'm going to ask that you, when speaking, you use the microphone for the benefit of those persons who are online too as well, so that they have the same experience that we're having within the meeting here. So this gentleman at the back has a question.
You're okay. The other.
Where is the ramp? On what avenue? What street? East Drive?
This is Lee.
Lee. So
Lee.
it ends. So it will go from crossover, go over Lejeune Road all the way to Lee.
To Lee, yes. It would end before Lee.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Abraham Richard Martinez. I get the idea of finding a way to alleviate the congestion on Okeechobee, on 36, Lejeune, all that. I get that concept, right? Something has to be done there because there is a lot of obvious problems there with the traffic. But I see the priority that's given on Lejeune Road on the north and southbound. That's going to help traffic, because now what you're doing is you're putting the volume that has to go across 42nd Avenue onto 36th Street in Okeechobee. But all this bypass is going to do is just put the volume quicker on 36th Street and cause still the congestion on 36 in Okeechobee. Is not doing anything about the east and west traffic. It's taking care of the north and south. I get it, by going over Lejeune, that'll give priority to the bottom street. But what's happening east and west, where there's going to be a lot of residents in Miami Springs going into that area, they're still going to face with more traffic because now the volume is even quicker getting there. So that's not alleviating that problem. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, yeah.
So what's the idea behind the volume that's going to be dumped into 36 and Okeechobee at a higher rate of volume? So the problem is still going to exist. I don't see what these overpass are going to do other than alleviate the problem on Lejeune Road.
Yeah.
Lejeune Road.
Okay, so when the planning study was developed, it looked at these potential ramps. Now that we're on the PD&E phase, that we're gonna be looking at the traffic into more detail, we are extending our traffic analysis goes beyond just this area. It will extend on 112 and on Lejeune and 36th Street and Okeechobee. So we will make sure that we address any additional congestion that goes beyond the area so that it creates a flow through the entire project study area. So yes, all the other intersections, even the ones that pass after this section, will be evaluated. And if additional improvements are needed to carry that traffic, those will be addressed as part of the study. Yeah. I think we have an elected official in attendance, Jorge Santin, Council Member Santin. There you go. Thank you for joining us today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Nelson Agarola. I just have a point of clarification here. So can you go to the other slide that dictates the Okeechobee portion?
The slide 15, Vanessa, can you please switch?
So this goes back to the question asked earlier. There is an existing flyover. If I read this diagram correctly, the new flyover that's going to go, east-west is going to have to go over the existing flyover. So not only is it kind of one level, that one's going to have to stack on top of that one to get over. Is that correct?
That's the way that it was developed during the planning phase. We will look at options during the PD&E to lower that so it doesn't have to go into a third level. There may be a few options that we could look into in order to merge with that existing ramp and avoid having to go into a third level, because the third level, right now, the third level extends the impacts along Okeechobee, east and west. So if we try to reduce that into a second level, some of that footprint can be reduced. So that'll be part of something that we'll be looking into the project. Yes.
Yeah, let's try to avoid, because eventually we'll have is like 18 levels at this rate. So.
Yes. Yeah. Paulette, we have one comment down here.
Okay. I'm so sorry, sir. Excuse me.
Thank you for all the comments. That's the main reason we're here, because we want to hear what the community has to say.
This is more a technical question. I noticed that every time you make a presentation, the others too.
Sorry, can you state your name before the comment? It's just for the public record.
Jens Spangenberg,
Thank
Quail Avenue, 40 years in Miami Springs. But I have a question, more technical question relating to the quality of your projections. So I noticed you're projecting out to 2050, correct?
Yes, 2050.
But my question is really, how reliable were the projections they did 30 years ago? So that we can evaluate how reliable are your projections today?
Okay, so his question, because I think they couldn't hear it. The question is that we are looking at the traffic projections to 2050. So he's asking how reliable are the traffic projections that were done 30 years ago. So when we looked at the traffic analysis, plan developments, and any projections that are planned by the counties and the cities are incorporated into the traffic analysis that we develop by 2050. There are things that change along the way after we do this analysis. For example, when this planning study was prepared, the soccer village was not planned yet at that location. So now we have to take that into account into our traffic analysis. So any new developments that are being planned, we will incorporate into our analysis. Anything that gets developed after a project or gets approved, it has to be revised to be able to.
That's the reason I'm asking also, how reliable were the old ones who were started 30 years ago?
Yeah, it goes with what the cities and the counties have on their work plan and how they have zoning developed for the different cities and the counties. So.
Today we know what happened from whatever people thought of 30 years ago, because sometimes I have the suspicion that those future projections really doesn't matter because they're just general estimates. So they're not taking it seriously. I mean, anyway, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for your comment.
Thank you so much. Okay.
And I'll remind you that after we finalize the question and answer session, we're still gonna be here and we can look at the concepts into more detail. And if you have any additional comments or questions, you can also provide your comments on the comment card. If you wanna leave your written comments, those become part of the public record and you can leave them in the front where we have the comment box.
Hi, Deb Steffen, over 60 years residence in Miami Springs. And it's just, I want you to really look at this because the more I look at it, is that you're going to bring a lot of traffic off of 112 down onto 36th Street rather than having them come down the ramp and have to go through the light and have metered traffic going onto 36th Street, right there where there's going to be the traffic turning off of Lejeune on that corner and bypassing, you know, some of the hotels, some of the whatever, and mixing them in with confused travelers who are trying to circumvent a sign that says, go this way to go to the airport, go this way to go to the airport. And what is that going to alleviate? There's still going to be a traffic jam of cars coming off 112. They're just going to be down a little bit farther. And that's something that really needs to be looked at. A couple of people have mentioned that also.
Yeah, no, thank you. We understand and we know there's several of the intersections that have restricted left turns and that make people have to just turn at the next signal and try to go around, especially at the North River Drive and around the Holiday Inn area. So yeah, those are things that we'll be looking into as part of this project.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, we're going to take some questions that are online too as well, because those persons have also been waiting for a period. And let's see, we have one question here.
We're going to take a question from Councilwoman Jackie Bravo. Jackie, you may speak. You can unmute yourself.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay, I actually have two questions. My first question is, what is FDOT's plan B if this plan does not get funded or approved?
Well, the project, it's already in the process of getting funded. It has some sections partially funded. So as the PD&E will keep moving forward before the design phase, it should be completely funded.
Okay, so how important is our city's voice in respect to this project? Will they halt the project until something is of suffice between all cities that are going to be impacted, or are these workshops just to get us feeling like if we're having some constructive input to make a difference?
No, the purpose of the project is to get the initial feedback from the communities. We are working on this project and DOT is committed to developing improvements for this project area. The funding, it's in the process. So the listening to the communities is part of the development of the concepts. And as we develop the final concepts and improvements, those will be programmed to move into the next phase. The funding for construction needs to be completed before the design starts. When we complete the PD&E, in order for it to move to design, the construction needs to be at least committed in the funding portion, and the design, it's already funded. So that's a step that shows that the project, it's already moving forward. There's already funding for the design, and once the design keeps moving forward, the construction will also be funded as well.
So what points would you take into consideration based on our concerns, and how would you change that plan?
Well, the consideration are being taken place from the moment that we start the PD&E study. We're receiving comments from the moment that we start the process, and we'll take comments all throughout the life of the project until we have the alternatives public workshop and also the public hearing.
Okay, my last question is, if FDOT goes ahead and completes this project and it just so happens to be a failed system based on anticipation, what will FDOT do to correct the failed plan?
Sorry, can you repeat the first part of the question?
That if FDOT ultimately completes this development, this crossover, And it comes to be that what it was supposed to solve, which was a traffic congestion, if it's proven once it's all settled, the sand has settled, and it's proven not to be such an effective system as it's being pitched, what is FDOT going to do to correct the logistics at that point?
Yeah, as I mentioned during the alternative slide, this project will be evaluating no build alternative, TSMNO, and also build alternatives. So if it gets to a point that we determine that their improvements are not beneficial or the no build option, it's a better option, then the project just gets determined not to be moving into the next phase, into the design.
Yeah, but that wasn't my question. My question was that if it's settled and it's done, the project is done, and it's actually we're actually using these overpaths, and the traffic has not alleviated the way that these reports, even in your final stages, are expected to perform. What is FDOT going to do to alleviate us? Because at the end of the day, we're going to feel the impact. So if there's any negative impact that we're going to feel that was not anticipated on the report, what is FDOT going to do to intervene to alleviate the issue?
Let me just for clarification, you're trying to, your point is after the project gets built?
If it gets built, yes.
Yeah. Well, the intent is for us to create a system that alleviates the problem and the congestion and then address all the needs. If there are issues with the project after it's built, we'll have to address any needs or any problems that get built after. But the intent is that whatever gets implemented or proposed, it will be something that will be evaluated from the traffic standpoint for impacts to the socioeconomics and all the different categories that will be evaluated during the PD&E study.
Okay, so we're going to have another workshop on this.
Yes, we're having an alternatives public workshop. It's tentatively scheduled for the summer. At that point, we should have alternatives that we have evaluated that can show some improvements around the area. And then the ultimate and the last public meeting is our public hearing, which is an opportunity to, again, voice your concerns about the recommendations. And at that public hearing, it gets taken into account if the project moves forward or not into the next phase. So if the improvements are not received by the community and the community voice their concerns at the public hearing, there's an opportunity for the project just to not move forward.
Okay, and one last question. What is FDOT doing to promote a more reliable mass transit system? I like the comment that a previous participant said in respects to a lane dedication. I think I mentioned that once at the last time that you were at our council meeting, to start maybe incorporating lane dedications to mass transit so our mass transit buses are not in the mass traffic. It kind of like defeats the purpose of transit and getting to places in timely manners. There's no real benefit other than staying, I mean, in a bus with hundreds of people. I might as well be in my car by myself. So I want to know what FDOT is doing to alleviate and become more efficient in the mass transit, because I think that's where the issue is, and I think that we're creating loopholes when the real issue is a poor mass transit system.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we could look at having dedicated mass transit lanes as part of the project, just to reroute and have the trucks have their own lane. Those adding additional lanes that are just dedicated for the transit just require additional right-of-way, so those we can look into the project development process. But the comments will make sure that we implement that, we record that comment so we can bring it down into the project development process.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Yes, as I mentioned, there's you received a comment card when you walked in. It's the form. You can also leave your comment in writing. Those become part of the project record, and we'll be responding to all those comments after the meeting if you leave any questions on those comments.
For the online attendees, if you have any other questions at this time, can you please raise a hand and your question will be addressed.
Thank you for your comment, Councilwoman. Anybody else?
Okay, since we have no other online comments, there's a gentleman here in a jacket that has a question, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
Elizabeth Taylor Martinez. I'm a councilwoman in Virginia Gardens. I've lived in the Miami Springs and Virginia Gardens areas since like 1968. I know what you're talking about here, and it sounds really scary because change is scary. But the biggest problem is no matter how many overpasses, underpasses, widening, adding an extra lane, redirects, it's still going to be too much because on the streets across Miami, 36th Street, Lejeune Road, Okeechobee Road, it's my car, your car, that guy's truck, his own personal truck. There's a bus because we need to have buses. But there's also all these tractor trailers coming here and there. FDOT built a great thing on 25th Street, the viaduct, which was supposed to get them off of 25th Street, the tractor trailers, around and to the airport, which was wonderful. But it starts there, right as you exit the Palmetto on 25th Street. Originally, it was sold that it was going to hook into the Palmetto. And the same thing is true to go on the Dolphin to go to the seaport. If you guys in your wisdom and crystal balls can figure out a way to get something like that, guess what? I don't think the streets on 36th Street or Lejeune will be as bad as they are now. It's insane. Because you build more lanes, more people and more trucks will come. Thank you.
No, for sure. And we understand we're on a very unique area in the county. We're around the airport, and the airport blocks a lot of the connections north, south, and east, west. And just to go from the north side of the airport to the south side, and it takes just to loop around to just reconnect with in between. So we understand that there's several of the issues around the area, and it's hard to solve the problem just everything at once. So we're gonna try to look at several improvements that we could do at the different intersections with the overpasses and alleviate some of the congestion that's in the area. We understand there's an issue, and we're gonna be looking at it into it. We appreciate your comments. I know that I don't think we have any more questions online. No, but oh, you have one? Okay, yes.
George Santine, City of Miami Springs City Council. My question is, most of these studies that you do to get what this impact could be, are those independent or are those internally? Like, to me, obviously, I'm sure the mayor has probably brought it up. I got here a little late, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but obviously there's a section there that is going to have a major economic impact on all the residents in this community. And I mean, obviously with taxes, the potential that we're trying to change to relieve all the residents. So the economic impact is huge. And I mean, just not a couple million, probably more like $1 billion in that whole section of assessments. Who does the economic study of the impact of this, pathway going right in front of most of that section? Is that done internally, or do you guys hire an independent company that does an economic impact?
Well, during the PD&E study, a section of the environmental impacts is a socioeconomic, so we looked at it as part of the project. So if the project is going to create negative, the same way it would impact habitat or the cultural resources, we also look at the socioeconomics. And if the project it's negatively affecting the project, then that also gets taken into account when we evaluate the different alternatives and we looked at which improvements are better or.
Well, my question is, do you guys internally do that?
As part of the project, yes.
So you guys don't hire an independent company to do that study? Okay. I find that to have a problem with that.
So the consultant is working in conjunction with FDOT as part of this effort.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, habit of a retired kindergarten teacher. Okay, for you are wonderful. I want to tell you guys presented that in a very amicable way, and it's not easy to be where you're doing. You have to defend something that you kind of pick up that we're not very happy, and you're doing brilliantly. However,
However.
you have to have the however. There is few things that because you are a brilliant person, I want you to consider and I wanted to understand. Number one, what would happen if by your, checking out, discover that that was not very good idea? Would you be able to equate and to say we're going to do differently, or you're going to be punished if you don't do differently? Do you understand what I'm saying? If we are here telling you all the impact, and suddenly you are getting some empathy for this community. And now you have to, inside of you, deal with two things. It's a conflict. My job, we invest that much. How would that affect you as a professional with your group to go there and say, guys, the Miami Springs are going to be so, let's do it different. Can you do that?
Of course. And this is also my community. I live down the street in Doral, so I also come to this community very often. Yes.
So you know Doral and you know Miami Springs and you know the difference. Well, Doral is great to be our neighbors, but I would not like to live in Doral. Too much traffic. But anyhow, my thing is, I want to thank you for coming here. I don't know for sure, and I'm be honest with you, if what we're saying that will affect. It was not clear to me that our voice would be heard. I hope it will be.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be very
We
bad.
will also be honest when we come back at the arts workshop, and we will show you concepts. We will be honest with you and telling you which are the impacts that we're looking at and which are the benefits, so that we can work together and look at the different options
And
together.
to finish because I don't want to talk too much. Anyhow, it's hard, but I will do it. But the thing is the following. There was many great ideas presented to your group. Number one, the 12th Street, the 25th, because somebody mentioned it and they are right. When you guys, I'm not saying you, but when another group created that bypass in the 25th, did not alleviate anything. It made it worse. It was much easy to go to 25th before they did all this bypass than now. Now I try to avoid 25th. Even if 36 and 41 indoor is bigger, I go there because it's easier to move around. And once you are my neighbor, I want you to every day think about it, how ugly that would be. Please get a bigger space. And about that thing that is going to be the stadium, like somebody said, it's more 12th Street. It's not us. Please, I beg you in my knees, listen to my community.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody here is more than 20 years. We are not a community that move. We say we are the best secret of Miami. Don't make it stop because there is other communities that are beautiful, but with millionaires. My community is mid-class. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. And we're still available. We're going to stay to answer any questions on the board. I know that we've taken
One more
some time
question?
already.
One more?
Yes,
One more.
yes.
So I'm a 53-year resident of Hialeah. I would highly, highly recommend that your next meeting is in Hialeah and that you do an outreach to Hialeah because your public information has been excellent to Miami Springs. Your presentation has been excellent, but especially in the world of equity and inclusion, what you're doing to the resident of Hialeah, you need to evaluate. You're not reaching them and they're not here. But
No.
hopefully if you reach out to Hialeah,
Yeah.
do it in Hialeah because they're having the impact just as much in Miami Springs. And if somebody's online, they would think this is only going to affect Miami Springs. No, that's equal effect on Hialeah.
No, definitely. We have already met with City of Hialeah. We met with City of Miami Springs, the town of Virginia Gardens, and we actually met last week with Miami-Dade County Mayor in order to get that initial conversation. We invited them. We created a project advisory team for this project. We had our first meeting in December, and that group includes representatives from all the different jurisdictions to collaboratively look at the project and look at the comments and provide feedback together. So before we have our alternatives public workshop, we're going to have another meeting with our project advisory team, which includes all the different jurisdictions. It includes the airport. It includes GMX, which is the owner of the 112 corridor, and it includes a lot of the major stakeholders in the area. So we are including it. Invitations were sent also to residents and the community on the Hialeah area. So yeah, well, yeah, we've met with the city, we've met with them, and then we've invited. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. The intent is for all the communities to have an opportunity to voice their comments and concerns. Yeah.
We don't have any other questions online, so we're going to take one more question in person. We do encourage you to please fill out a comment form out in the exit, and our project team.
And we're
is
going to stay for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So if you have additional questions, we're more than happy to keep the conversation and continue comments. I know that we still have a few more minutes, but I would like to give you an opportunity to look at the boards if you have any specific questions you want to have.
Hi, my name is Jose Rodriguez. I am a resident here in Miami Springs. I guess my question is on your traffic area. How wide is your traffic pattern analysis going? Because it's great to have an overpass onto 36th Street. I'm not even going to talk about Okeechobee because I have no personal experience there. I don't travel in that direction, but I do travel regularly on 36th Street. So even if you get the traffic out of the 112 midway onto 36th Street, it's not going to fix anything if you can't move it along. So if we don't know where that traffic is going, is it going onto the Palmetto? Is it turning on 72nd? Is it going into Doral? Where that traffic is going, you can't really alleviate it. Thus, mass transit is one of the conversations that's being brought up. So I guess my question is, how far does your traffic analysis go to make the decisions you make?
Okay, so the actual traffic analysis extends beyond our project limits. For example, if you, Vanessa, if you go to the first, where the project area is, which is like slide 8, or I think, yeah, that one. Although our project area, it's just the red area that's highlighted, our traffic extends beyond those limits. On 112, we extend the traffic analysis all the way to 27th Avenue because that's the next interchange that we have on the east. We're also extending our traffic on 36th Street to the other side of the airport. And we're also extending the traffic north and south on Lejeune Road. And I see Winston coming here, so he's the traffic person.
Yeah, Winston Harris, traffic engineer. So we've been looking at travel patterns as far east as I-95, west to 826, south to 836, and north to 54th. So we're looking at travel patterns of a big, wide area. And then we'll be studying in detail operations in this area here. But we'll be looking at those big, wide travel patterns. Yeah.
What percentage of that traffic is getting off on the Palmetto, and what percentage of that traffic is continuing westbound?
Right.
Because all the homes are now well west of the Palmetto. You know, so you're just trying to fix, it doesn't matter if you're trying to fix it right here when everyone's trying to get down to what, 147.
Let me repeat the question for the attendees online. So the question is, it was, hold on.
The question was the traffic analysis, how far it's going, because the traffic analysis is only going to the Palmetto. And the traffic on 36th Street westbound is really being caused by a backlog all the way to whatever, 137th, 147th, 150th, because there's really no way of getting there, like Kendall Drive. You get off on Kendall Drive on the turnpike and you're trying to get to 157th Avenue. You're taking what, 45 minutes, maybe an hour? I have friends that live out west. So you have the same problem here. You get the traffic off of 112 right onto 36th Street, and that guy is trying to get to 147th Avenue and, 36th to 41st. It doesn't matter if you can't move that traffic along. It doesn't matter how quick you get it off 112 if you can't move it along 36.
Right. And part of this study, those travel patterns are the patterns we're going to try to understand. But of course, we have to try to set some limits as to how far we can go. But still, even west of 826 is considered, because when we're looking at our models, we're making sure that those external trips outside of that big, even though we're studying a wide area, those external trips are still considered.
All right, so I think that's, yes, of course. Let me.
Thank you. I'm Mayor Mitchell. And first of all, I wanted to let everyone know that FDOT, their responsibility, and I don't envy their responsibility, is to look at the really big picture. They're looking at moving traffic throughout the county. Our responsibility for Miami Springs and Virginia Garden is to protect our communities and to make sure that when those analyses are done, to move the big picture, that it doesn't negatively impact our city. And in fact, I think I would add to that, that we benefit from that, that there is improvements, aesthetic improvements, a lot of things that have been done in the past to move traffic that has decimated parts of our city. This is the opportunity to, instead of negatively impact our city, to make it better. So I wanted to thank Lieta and her staff, Transportation Secretary Stacy Miller. I understand she's virtually, and she was actually here in Miami Springs yesterday with Julieta. And JC Jimenez, the city manager, and I gave them a tour on a city bus, one of our rec center buses of Miami Springs, to really talk about these issues so that they can see it. It's different seeing it on that and seeing what's really happening in our community. I wanted to thank our residents for coming out. It's really, really critical. Anyone that's been hearing council meetings for the past 2 years has heard me several times talk about these projects, these FDOT projects, and how important it is that our community be involved and know what's happening and voice their concerns. And this is greatly appreciated that you've turned out and you've let them know. The last thing I'll say is Councilman Santin brought up a really, really important topic, and that's something that we discussed yesterday with Transportation Secretary Miller and Julieta, is that we are in the process of revitalizing that corner of Miami Springs, the Northwest 36th Street and Lejeune corner, with economic development. So whatever studies have been done to evaluate the economic impact in that area, I'm certain could not take into account, because we've never been asked, as to the projections that we have and the work that we've been doing for that area. That's, you're looking at what's there. We have plans in progress, and we've been working very hard at changing that area. And I think that's really, really important. And as I voiced to you, you've already, FDOT, and I don't mean this how it may sound, but in the past, FDOT has sliced and diced Miami Springs, and sliced us by cutting away along 36th Street, taking away our sidewalk to add a lane years ago. And to be fair, that was at a time when, moving traffic was all that mattered. People didn't look at, at aesthetics of sidewalks or pedestrian accessibility, but we did. We've lost that, and we need to get that back. We need that sidewalk back along Northwest 36th Street, which is one of our major economic areas, business areas. And they diced us with the ramp from the airport, the Lejeune ramp from the airport heading to Okeechobee. There was a time not that long ago when we would take South River Drive and you could go south on South Royal Poinciana toward Lejeune and continue and connect with South River Drive. And that was part of our community. And part of our community is at Holiday Inn in that area, which I know you used to hold meetings there, and we asked you not to hold them there, to hold them here, because even though the Holiday Inn in that corner is part of our community, it's almost impossible for any of us to even get to it, because there, it's a brick wall that you hit, or a concrete wall that you hit as you're going down South Royal Poinciana. So that's another area that, we've been cut from the rest of our community, the Abraham Tract, which are the hotels, the Embassy Suites and all that we own, that are part of Miami Springs, to have another ramp now come from the 112 Expressway and cut our our Northwest 36th Street and have a ramp cut that just totally will decimate a very, very important business and economic area for our community. So again, thank you to the residents that are here. The last thing I wanted to, please don't become complacent. There are, as Julieta said, there's 3 FDOT projects on the way. Don't get, it's hard, and it's easy to get them confused. The Iron Triangle is just that corner basically of Lejeune and 36th Street. The other project is the Northwest 36th Street Corridor project. That's also an FDOT project, but it's a different team. And they're looking at Northwest 36th Street all the way from Doral, west of the Palmetto to I-95. We're part of that. We're part of that section, and it's very, very different if you imagine near Midtown, Northwest 36th Street near Midtown, or just by Highlight and right in front of us. So please get involved with that project too. There's a lot of space on the airport right-of-way, south side of Northwest 36th Street, to make needed improvements that they need to use. But our city can't continue to give more to FDOT and to ease the traffic throughout Miami-Dade County. We've given a lot already. Thank you.
No, thank you for your comment, Mayor. I'm gonna
Well,
pass
at
it
this
down to
time,
Kira.
I would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight.